that meeting
This
going?
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we're live on side too, so go for it.
All right, this is Doug Hunt. I'm calling the virtual meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners to order. It is Monday, January 25th at 3 p.m. We do have a quorum of all three commissioners present virtually. And the first item on our agenda today would be the adoption of the consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature or items that have come before the board before. Staff or commissioners are welcome to comment on any item, or I will entertain a motion for approval.
I will offer up a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I heard three ayes. That motion is approved and we have adopted the consent calendar. Next item on our agenda is really a follow-up from a presentation that was made last week to the board, and this would be a decision item regarding the State Transportation Improvement Program Project List 2021-23, and I believe we have the Director of Lincoln County Transportation here, and that would be Cinda Bruce. Or Wayne, are you making the presentation? I don't see Cinda.
Cinda is not here. Wayne Belmont, County Council. You did have your discussion of the program and the recommendations that came from the group. And I think that I was going to pull up and look at the packet. I think you actually have the list again this week of the proposed projects that was in the, I know it was in the packet last week. There they go. Thank you.
There it is. Yeah, thank you, Casey or Christy.
So what we need today is a motion to accept the recommendations and move forward. This is our list of projects for the 21 to 23 biennium.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Chair Hunt. Again, I'll just say what I said last week. I think this is a wonderful, well thought out list. I mean, I like the fact that it targets the entire county and also some of our highest need riders, and I'm happy to support it.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Commissioner Hall kind of took the words out of my mouth, so I will go ahead and make a motion to adopt as presented.
And I will second that motion.
And I will call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries, and look forward to seeing some of those new routes being implemented. That'll be good for the county. All right, we'll move on to reports, and as has become sadly a routine, we continue to have updates on the COVID situation, and I expect we will continue to get these for some time in the future. With that, Florence, tell us the latest.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Florence Porter, Deputy Director of Public Health. So two major reports for you this week. One on our cases, the second on the state of our vaccination in Lincoln County. So we'll start with cases. As of today, we had 1,040 cases of COVID-19 in Lincoln County. As you can see, we are moving along quite nicely. We're not really coming down too much, but we're not getting any major increase in our daily cases. I will say that there might be a caveat to us not getting too many reports at this time because the state database has encountered plenty of issues. I think there is an intent to try to fix it once and for all on the 30th of the month. But we're hoping that the fact that it's been, online, offline, doesn't mean that we're missing some reports of COVID cases. So, but, today we had 2 cases. That's good. That's also giving the team a little bit of relief. If you can scroll down a little bit, please. So, Commissioner Hunt, there is not an update really on this test positivity rate, as the state had not updated the data. So this is the same graph as we presented last week. State positivity rate just a bit less than 6% as of January 10th.
So I won't shoot the messenger, Florence, but I'll continue to voice my serious concerns about the state's inability to provide us with a positivity rate. I think that's, as the charts reflect, one of 2 key factors, and obviously it's key relative to our risk levels. So I've shared my frustration, but I'm not shooting the messenger.
Oh, yeah, and I totally agree with you, Commissioner Hunt. I think in terms of, I think the data collection tool itself is, in my opinion, pretty antiquated. And hopefully, this pandemic is going to lead us to use a little bit more of a modern tool. We'll see.
Time will tell. Go ahead.
Yeah. You can slide down, please. Thank you. So as you can see, our numbers are at this time at about 147 cases for January 2021. So that shows quite a decrease, right, compared to last month. So that's encouraging. You can scroll down. Thank you. And so as you can see, at this time, we will be maintaining within the high risk category. And we just had a slight increase in case rate per 100,000, but nothing to be too concerned with at this time. Any questions on cases in Lincoln County?
Commissioner Hall, questions?
No questions. I just say this is encouraging, and kudos to the team and kudos to the public, at least, and I know we still haven't achieved universal compliance on masking and distancing and probably never will, but it seems like enough people are doing the right things that we're holding steady, which, given if you look at the national landscape, is I think a pretty big achievement in and of itself. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my audio is saying it's not working, so I just wanted to see if you could hear me first. I do have a question, that is, of the cases we are seeing, Florence, are these gatherings? Are they workplace in nature? Are they community spread? What's bringing these current cases we have up?
To tell you the truth, I haven't really looked at that, but I could the ones that we had over the weekend. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull the report. That seems to be pretty all over the place, to tell you the truth.
All over the place. Okay.
Yes.
More ways than one.
Yeah, I think one is in a boat, one is at work, another one, attended a band. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just
About
wanted to-
3. No, don't be sorry. I'm sorry. I will make sure that I look into it for next week.
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious if there was a particular trend or particular, activity that had been getting us kind of into trouble. I know early in the fall we were seeing a lot of outdoor, activities like family hunting trips and, that sort of thing. Of course, over Thanksgiving. So I was just curious if we were seeing something now that maybe we needed to address. But it sounds like it's kind of just the normal stuff. And not one particular thing.
I would just say that, and I'm a pretty superstitious person, so I never count my chickens before they hatch. But I think the fact that we're well into the month of January and really haven't seen any significant increase in our cases, which could be traced back to the holidays, I think that's a positive fact and really worthy of recognition of the efforts of not only our public health and county staff, but the people in our communities. So it's worth noting.
Absolutely.
Vaccines.
Vaccines. Well, overall, so this is the graph discusses the amount of vaccines that have been received overall in our community and the doses administered overall in the community as of today. So we're almost at, how do you say that when you're, what's coming in is getting out, pretty much is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Very
Casey,
good.
I think we lost the presentation.
Yes, we did. Did we lose Casey?
No, I apologize, guys. You're gonna have to give me a second here. Christy is having an emergency, and she just passed the meeting over to me, and I do not have your agenda on this computer, so I need to find the agenda.
All right,
So
we will be patient.
let me pull it up, and we'll get back on.
Can I ask a question to Florence while we're waiting about something already presented?
Sure.
That graph you showed us that now went away, that, you said 96% of the vaccines, given to us have been out. That 4% that hasn't gone out, is that already scheduled for or kind of spoken for and we're just waiting for those appointments to take place?
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner Jacobson. So all of those vaccines will go out this week. By Friday, we're hoping to have everything administered. So I just wanted to give you a sense of what we did last week. I was trying to pull the report off of my computer, but for some reason, it's giving me some grief. So maybe okay. So what we did last week was pretty tremendous. We, as you know, put together 3 mass vaccination clinics at the county fairgrounds in Newport. We vaccinated in 3 days 1,433 individuals. These events were made possible because of the tremendous partnerships we have in the community, not only with Samaritan Hospitals, with our school district, EMS, law enforcement, firefighters, and more. So not only were we able to administer the vaccine, the clinics were staffed adequately. We've received really great feedback from both people who volunteered for those events and from the people who received the vaccine. So that's been really, really positive and encouraging. In addition to those 1,433 vaccines, our colleagues at North Lincoln Fire and Pacific West Ambulance went to long-term care facilities on Thursdays and Friday and vaccinated about 300 individuals, staff and residents at those facilities. This week, we are planning a closed vaccination clinic, and I say closed because people in the community are very enthusiastic about receiving their vaccine, and as of last week, we had a wait list of about 900 people. So that was really good because even though the Moderna vaccine comes in a vial that is supposed to have 10 doses, depending on the vial, we're able to draw 11 to 12 doses a vial. And so we were able to call people in at the end of each day in order to give them the vaccine. So the waitlist was very useful. And then, so what we're doing this week is like we're making sure that we're completely through with anybody from phase 1A who wants the vaccine. And some of those folks, you know, have people in foster homes who were not able to come to the vaccination clinic. So what we're doing is we're having some of our partners going on the road on Friday, and they're gonna go vaccinate people who couldn't make it to the clinic. So that's exciting. That's going to be about, I believe, 60 people. And then the rest of the doses, Commissioner Jacobson, are going to be used during that closed vaccination clinic. And we are reaching out to everybody in phase 1A, every educators, you know, childcare workers, anyone who hadn't had a chance to schedule themselves last week. And so we're going through that wait list and getting people in this way. So at the end of the week, we will have no vaccine on hand. And we don't know yet what to expect for next week. But as soon as we know how many doses we're to expect, we will put a vaccination clinic together. Our partners at North Lincoln Fire are also willing to set up a regular vaccination clinic at the Taft Fire Station in Lincoln City. So that's exciting also to have a location in North County. And what else? We've had no adverse reaction. So that was very positive. And yeah, I think this is what I've got in terms of vaccines. I'm sure you have plenty of questions, so I'll let you get to them.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair Hunt. Florence, I'd just like to start off by seconding what you said about what the team did last week. Pretty tremendous, and I really think that's an understatement. all the feedback that has come back to me, either directly or indirectly, has been extremely positive. People saying how smoothly things went, how well organized things were, either people who had limited mobility or, needed extra assistance. They got that extra assistance. So, yay team, and I'm glad we get the chance to say that publicly. I do have a couple of questions to start off with. I know we're less than a week into the new federal administration, and they have promised to put a coherent vaccine distribution plan into place. And I know the question is probably premature, but on behalf of all the people who are wondering, do we have any sense yet on when we might be able to expect a consistent number of vaccines coming into the county from week to week?
So I haven't heard yet, but what I can tell you is that on day 2 of the administration, we received a national strategy for COVID response. So that's very encouraging. There's going to be a meeting on Wednesday with an update from Pat Allen, the director of the Oregon Health Authority, and I'm hoping that by then we'll be able to have a better sense of what to expect.
Great. My other question right now is somebody asked about, and I note that in your report that you've said that clinics outside of Newport are in the works. And of course, the folks in long-term care facilities have been vaccinated. But we've also got, a large number of people in the community who are still living in their homes, but are either completely homebound or all but homebound. And is there any planning yet potentially to work with in-home care agencies, Meals on Wheels, or other organizations that serve that population to make sure that vaccine gets to those folks as well?
Yes, absolutely. This is so part of our response has an outreach branch, and Amy Snyder, our health promotion manager, is manning this part of the response, and her role is very much making sure that all those people will be outreached to, and that we will have a very clear system in place to make sure that folks receive the vaccine.
Wonderful. Chair Hunt, those are the only questions I had in mind right now, so I'd like to yield the floor, but if something else pops up as you and Commissioner Jacobson ask your questions, I might ask to be recognized again. But this is really encouraging news given all the obstacles and roadblocks we've had to face up till now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, I have several here. I have a similar question to Commissioner Halls about the change in federal administration. My question about that, though, is in the plan that we received on day 2 of the Biden administration, is there anything in that plan that is potentially a negative effect to us that we need to work on? Also, is there anything in that plan that we've already seen, affect us in a positive or negative way?
Well, first of all, there is a plan. That's a positive in my book. Second, I think what they're outlining is like very much principles and goals, making sure that decisions are going to be based on data, that they're going to be based on science, that they're going to be based on public health practice, and research. So I think kind of like restating important maybe things that had been put to the wayside a little bit. And I know that one of their goals is really trying to restore trust and make sure that they are ensuring a response that is equitable and that is really reaching the folks that are, hard to reach. Make sure that they're also going to help with the production of vaccine using some of the federal tools that might not have been used previously. So I don't see any negative at this time from what I've read.
Thank you. And my question was really if there's something that it'd be good for us to know about that now, so we can work with federal partners to try to address that. One of my other questions is for that people in our community that are in that 75 plus age group. For ones that did not get vaccinated last week, and then I know that our wait list got cut off at some point because we had so many people on it. So if they did not get a vaccine and they did not get on the wait list, what do they do at this point? Just keep watching our website? Do they call the call center to get on the list, or do they just kind of keep watching?
So we have not opened a new wait list because we have so many people on the one we have going. So I think the best thing to do at this time is keep on watching the website. As soon as we know how many vaccines we're getting next week, we will open a clinic and put the scheduling link there. People need to understand that we might also not, I don't have all the numbers, but we might be able to get everyone who was on the wait list through the clinic on Friday, but we might not. So if the clinic is full before we went through the entire wait list, then we're gonna finish going through the wait list and then open it up to the public. Okay.
I think the biggest thing is just people that didn't make it on the wait list and vaccine. Just then you want some reassurance that at some point it will open back up for them. And I think what else is happening is some maybe positive peer pressure in that community. And I've heard some people that maybe originally didn't want to. Well, their friends and peers in that age category are now pressuring them to do that, which is a good thing. And so now they're, they just want to make sure that that'll open back up to that age category some point in time. Yeah. All right, thank you. And then, my last question is, you had mentioned that this week, you're working with some partners to do some kind of on the road to harder to reach audiences or groups of people that really can't physically come into a clinic. I'm really, really glad to hear that we've kind of made that step and are doing that with partners. I think specifically as we open up into more categories and also start looking at other populations and specific types of workers, that on the road model, which I know has some logistical challenges to it, is really important. And I would also say, as we move, towards those other groups, I think it's one thing to have a clinic going on in the middle of the day for 75 plus that are mostly retired and probably can get there. But I think as we move on into other categories and, workers and that kind of stuff, I know it's taxing on staff. I think we need to look at some, alternative times and weekends, because obviously there's people that are still in the workforce that are going to meet criteria later on to get a vaccine that, work 8 to 5 or whatever, and may need some alternative hours or days or what have you, or kind of the on the road model in order to, get access.
Yes,
So just something to think of as we move forward.
Absolutely.
And that is all of my questions.
All right, I've got a couple, thank you, and I'll, I guess, pick up on that question that Commissioner Jacobson raised. Are we doing weekend clinics? Because I think weekend clinics also would address that issue of access during working hours, so to speak.
So we are not at this time, but it's in the planning.
Okay, so I have a 97-year-old mother, and I guess she doesn't live in Lincoln County, so we don't have to worry about her specifically. But when I think about my mother, boy, when it comes to the internet, she's lucky if she can figure out, how to get her laptop to hook up to the internet. I get a lot of cell phone calls because she can't find my email address in her computer, which is all to say there are a lot of people, maybe not a lot that are 97 or older in Lincoln County, but there are a lot of people that are technologically, I'll say, challenged. So to those people, how are we reaching out to them? Telling them to go to a link on a website. My mother would call me and say, help. And I'd say, Mom, I'm, 2 hours away. So what are we doing to address the people that aren't technologically savvy?
Right, so I think we're doing quite a few things actually. So each time we communicate about those clinics, we communicate, of course, through the website, but also through print media, right? So through the newspaper, through the radio, some people are on social media. So we're really trying to cast a wide net. And the other thing that we're doing when we communicate is that we include the call center phone number so that people who either do not have a computer, don't know how to use the computer, don't even want to bother with the computer, can just call, and then the person who they're going to talk to is going to help them sign up. So that's been very successful. The call center has been extremely busy answering people's questions and making sure that people either are registered or are put on the wait list, at least when the wait list was opened.
Okay, that really answers my question. I forgot to mention it. I also tell my mother that her 27-year-old granddaughter can help her when she's available. That's I digress. Any other questions from commissioners or comments?
I have one more question. I skipped on my list. Sorry about that. When do we, and I know it varies and we just don't have consistency right now, which is a federal supply chain problem, but when do we typically hear how many vaccines we're getting? We tell people to, check the website, but is there certain days that would be more useful? People maybe aren't as technological friendly and aren't glued to their computers like I am. Is it more of the end of the week that we usually hear that news, or the beginning, or does it vary?
Yeah, it varies. Sometimes we hear about the allocation on Fridays, sometimes over the weekend, and at the latest on Mondays. So, okay. So let's say we're going with the latest. If I were to receive the allocation on Monday, then we have this multi-agency meeting that I mentioned quite a few times. So we meet on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so usually at those meetings, we look at what's available to us for the week, and then we make a decision on how we want to administer those vaccines. So I would say by end of day on Monday or early Tuesday morning, we should have information available.
Yeah, so if someone's not, on the internet, or if that's challenging for them, those would maybe be good days to call the call center and get an update as well?
Yeah,
okay.
Tuesday morning, call the call center.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Commissioner Hall, anything more from your point?
Nothing more, thank you.
Okay, I thought of a question, Florence. What about South County? Are we going to have a clinic in South County?
Yes, so we're actively looking. I received an email from Wayne Belmont this morning with, I believe, the city of Walport, who that had a few possible suggestions for us. So that's very exciting. So we're going to look into what those locations look like and how we can set them up and work on a plan for those. You know, the one thing that is very important for us is to be able to set up in a location and not have to take the setup down, because that creates a lot of extra work, you know. But I think if we could make contact possibly and go see the facility this week, then it's going to all depend on how much vaccine we receive. Right, so the more vaccine we receive, the more clinics we can do everywhere. So I think based on how many vaccine we receive, I think we will likely prioritize the fairgrounds in Newport, just because, you know, we've run it. We know how many staff it takes. It's after 3 days, it's pretty well oiled. And I know it can be far away for some people, but we're going to work with the transit director to make sure that there's, you know, more bus lines connected to the fairgrounds. And then the more vaccine we get, the more we're going to expand the reach throughout the county. That's kind of the idea.
All right. Last comment I'd make is I think the cooperation and collaboration amongst the county agencies and the partnerships that we've developed, I think that's truly one of the outstanding transformations that I've seen in the HHS department over the last couple of years. I think that that's something that truly has been beneficial to the county and certainly to the people in our county. So I just want to say thank you again to all of the partners that, you know, at a critical time have stepped up, and frankly, that's what partnerships are about. So good work.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that we're all on the same page makes things way easier.
All right, any other last comments from commissioners? If not, Florence, thank you for a good report, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll move on to Echo Mountain Complex fire update. Council Belmont.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Wayne Belmont, County Council. Just a couple of quick things. Then I'll turn it over to Roy Kenyon, who I know is going to give us an update on the debris cleanup process up north. So first is that when we discussed this last week, it looked like the direct housing project was moving forward. There's a new location that's being examined with the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. We weren't sure whether or not the deal had been finalized at the point that we got the information last week, and I have not been able to confirm that it has been finalized, although I know they were looking at trying to do that either Friday or today. So in meetings later this week, we'll try and ensure that it is finalized and that moves forward. I do know that they were looking at somewhere between 19 and 23 actual sites that are stood up. And the last I heard is that they were coming down to 21, right in between the two numbers there, as the number of sites that they would develop in that location. Second thing was, we discussed the fact that we have heard from FEMA that they had denied our request to include commercial properties, specifically mobile home parks, as part of the cleanup process. We are, my staff is currently in the works with making an appeal of the decision to deny that. We have learned that apparently they are cleaning up mobile home parks in some of the other fire impacted areas in the state. So we'll keep you posted on that appeal as we formally move forward to get some additional FEMA participation in that. And just a reminder again that that still will be cleaned up. The state has committed to cleaning up that property. It's just whether or not we get federal aid to do so. And I think with that, I'm going to stop and turn it over to Roy Kenyon, who can talk to you a little bit more about what's happening on the debris cleanup side of things.
Thank
Chair
you.
Hunt,
Go ahead, Roy.
Chair Hunt, excuse
Oh,
me.
yes,
Before
go
we
ahead.
move on to Director Kenyon, could I ask a question of Mr. Belmont?
Certainly.
Can we say, do we know what tribal property they're talking about specifically?
I know that it's off of Logan Road. It's adjacent to their existing, some developed property that they have off of Logan Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Kenyon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Roy Kenyon, Lincoln County Public Works Director. The latest on the debris cleanup from Otis is the monitoring team is finishing up the addressing of each tax lot. Basically, you know, with the fire going through, it kind of removed what would be visible borders, fences and homes and whatever else. And so it's important that they get every tax lot with the appropriate address. So those signs are up or almost completely up. They've also been working on asbestos tests on each lot. That all has to be done prior to the contractor actually getting on the property and starting the cleanup of each individual tax lot. And the contractor is in the area and they are currently preparing the public road system up there for their use. So they're in rocking the roads, straightening things out, getting ready for the equipment to come in, which will happen here pretty soon. That's about it for now. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but it is all part of the process, and they're almost finished with the pre-debris removal. So everything will be in line.
Okay. Questions? Let's start with you, Commissioner Jacobson.
I don't have any questions at this point. I do have a comment though, or kind of maybe I'll bring it up in Commissioner report. I'll wait to bring it up then, but no questions for Mr. Kenyon at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair Hunt and Director Kenyon. So I'm going back a couple of weeks to when we did have ODOT representatives participating in the meeting. You know, I think it's important to underscore what you're saying today, you know, that a lot of important and necessary pre-cleanup work is nearing completion. But, you know, I seem to recall us hearing a couple of weeks ago that they were hoping to start, you know, they'd even given us a specific date of Tuesday, January 19th, where they were hoping to start actual lot by lot cleanup. And so it sounds like they're running a little behind on that, but, you know, at least continued forward momentum is a good thing.
Yes, and actually from what I understand was there were some people at the state level that they weren't happy with the speed of you know how things were being laid out. So there was some pressure put on in some places. Some things happened, and they kind of got that straightened out. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen before the contractor can get on the property, and all that stuff is happening now. And I know early on there was some concern about the public road system in the Echo Mountain area because it's truly user maintained, and you know how that was going to get taken care of, and that has been worked out between the state and the contractor. And so the roads are getting beefed up. We are now just barely at the end of January, and we still have probably at least 3 months now still of wet weather. And so by taking the time to do the work now on the roads, kind of ensures that as we get into this and things actually start happening, that you don't have to shut down the process to basically rebuild your road system. So that'll be done.
Great, thank you.
So Director Kenyon, I'm going to ask you to comment on, I'll say the volunteer groups that are also active in that area. Certainly, you know, the more volunteers, the better. But I also think that there's a possibility that the homeowners may not understand some of the the differences between the volunteers and the work they're doing and the work that the state could or would do. So I'm particularly concerned about, I guess, risk of getting the job done ultimately, and potential costs that would not be incurred through the state. So could you comment on that, please?
Well, I have not been involved too much on that side, but I know Paul Seitz, our debris manager, has been talking to people on a daily basis. And you're right, over the last month or so, there has been a lot of confusion. And I think that because it's taken so long, people start losing hope that things are actually going to happen. They start looking towards the sites that have been cleaned up by the volunteer group. From what I understand, that does cost the individual tax lot owners a little bit, whereas the work that's being done through the state is totally being paid for by the state and by FEMA on a reimbursement basis. All I can say is, in the age of social media, it is so easy for information to kind of go a little bit sideways. And I think that the attempt was to try to get the word out in a manner that everybody understood. Well, I don't believe there was a misunderstanding so much as a sense of urgency to get it taken care of. There were people that wanted to get it taken care of, and that's happened on a lot of lots. I don't know the exact number, but it has been happening in a fairly clean manner so that there shouldn't be any ongoing issues afterwards. But it's kind of that dividing line between and having this other group that's on site that you can see on a daily basis do the work for you. And so it becomes individual choice. And those that have been waiting will get the service that they've been promised. Those who didn't wait, they're getting, I guess, what they're paying for. And between the two entities, it'll all get taken care of. I don't believe there's going to be anybody left behind. There's going to be some stragglers, because there are still some lots that Paul has not been able to get rights of entry on. Now, he is still pursuing that, and that window is still open for them to do so. But we may have to circle back around later on to try to do that, try to pick up those last stragglers. But we're hoping that all gets taken care of.
Yeah, well, I think your words were well chosen. We certainly respect the rights of the individual property owner to make those choices. I just wanted to be sure that there was understanding of some of the nuances or pros and cons that could be encountered going one direction or another. So thank you for that.
Right, and
Commissioner Hall, did you? Go ahead,
but
Director.
I want to let Roy finish.
I was just going to say that Paul has been trying to clarify, make people understand the two different processes. He's been pretty forthcoming with the information, and at the same time, it's not his job to tell people which way to go. He's laid it out for them, told them what their options are, what option A is and what option B is, and what the pros and cons of each one are, and has allowed the people to kind of determine which way they want to go, which is the best that we can do, because that's reality there.
No, that's what he should be doing, in my opinion. Go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Hunt. Just related to this, I spoke over the weekend with somebody involved with one of the private groups, and I said, of course, it does come down to an individual's choice, but I talked about the fact that some people have chosen not to sign right of entry paperwork, and said, I hope that you would consider encouraging people, because I know, that the volunteers have really done amazing work, but I know they're being taxed pretty heavily as well. And I said, what about at least encouraging people who haven't done ROEs to do them, if nothing else, to keep their options open. And she actually said that that's what she was doing, though some people say, absolutely, I do not want the government coming onto my property. And I said, well, of course, that's their choice then. But, just so they have an understanding of what their options are. Thanks.
Oh, again, I think that's a good point, and certainly respect the rights of the property owner. Commissioner Jacobson, anything to add before we move on?
I think the only thing I would add is just what Commissioner Hall just sort of said, is I think that for some people, having the government on their property is, a piece in their decision making.
Sure. Good point. All right. If there's nothing else, thank you, Director Kenyon, and we'll move on to our next agenda item, which would be commissioner reports. And let's start with Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, perfect segue. This has to do with the Echo Mountain Complex fire, so I'll just kind of bridge right into commissioner reports with that. So I did receive a note over the weekend from one of the nonprofit groups kind of working up there, and one of the issues that is coming up is, there's a lot of property owners on their property, maybe sifting through debris. There's also, this volunteer group, but there's also other contractors doing work up there, or property owners sawing up trees or what have you, and there's no place to go to the restroom, which is certainly a public safety issue. And so the request was, could the county help maybe getting some portable restrooms in certain areas so that, people could use the restroom. We are in a pandemic, so of course, keeping waste in a certain area is important. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up to all of the board and see if that's something maybe we could have staff sort of work on. I will say that we have had restrooms in the Otis area previously, not in those same neighborhoods, but every fall when the salmon are in the Salmon River in the last couple of years, we have paid for portable toilets up in that area so that people, fishing and stuff have somewhere to go. So this is not out of precedence for us, but slightly different.
Good
I'd
information.
be totally supportive of that, Mr. Chair. Let's explore it and make it happen
I
if
agree.
we can.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner Jacobson?
Nope, that's it for me.
Commissioner Hall?
Well, I'll mention that tomorrow afternoon, as the board's designated representative, I'll be taking part in the kickoff planning meeting for Cascadia Rising 2022. Again, I'm not superstitious, but then again, we don't want to jinx things. As the last conversation points out, we're still very much in the thick of Echo Mountain fire aftermath, but we are, and we have been for many years, and we must continue moving forward on really a comprehensive strategy to respond, not if, but when the big Cascadia subduction zone event happens. It may happen long after all of us are out of our leadership positions, or it could happen tomorrow. So I know this is a very significant regional exercise, and we'll be glad to be at the table representing the policy group, the Board of Commissioners.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Well, I will say the fact that the planning for that drill, really exercise, is starting now talks to the complexity and, frankly, I think the comprehensive aspects of that exercise. So more to come, I'm sure. I'm going to report that COVID, as we all know, COVID has had unusual and unexpected impacts on our lives, and as a representative on the governor's workforce board, we actually had a conversation at that level about COVID and what are some of the long-term changes in the job market, and how do we as a state develop programs to address those changes. And it was really quite an interesting conversation. And there was a comment about like our county, we want to build back better, and certainly we need to be prepared for the Cascadia event, which, as Commissioner Hall, you noted, it's a question of when, not if. So I just thought it was interesting to be at a state level meeting talking about workforce and have COVID be a part of long-term impacts and planning. So interesting what the future will be. Any other questions or comments from reports from commissioners?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's one thing I failed to mention, which was last Thursday and Friday, I was in meetings with the LCDC. I'm on their commission at the Land Conservation and Development Commission. One of the things that was talked about, which would be of interest to the board, because we recently passed something on that, is potential changes in Dugami, and that organization being broken up and placed in different places. The LCD could be one of the organizations that receives that kind of coastal planning and mapping piece. So there's some discussion there. And it sounds like Director Rue with the LCD may start doing some more kind of outreach and discussion with coastal communities. They were very excited about possibly getting that mapping program. And I was very clear that, we're scared. Not so much excited about that, but I think that some dialogue there directly with the LCD might help us understand if it were to happen, how the Dugami would be kind of brought into that organization. So just an update on that.
It's good to have you on that board. Any other comments from commissioners, reports? I know, go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
I was just going to say, it looks like we're only a minute or two away from adjourning, and a meeting of less than 1 hour duration. I'm not sure the last time we had that. So again, I don't want to jinx anything, but plenty work going on, plenty, everybody's still plenty busy, but it seems like we may be settling into at least lull isn't the right word, but work is proceeding steadily. No, hope. Yeah, there's a tremendous, but hopefully we'll go a few days, weeks, months without another huge unexpected surprise. But if it happens, we'll be ready.
Well, recognizing your comments about time, I'll recognize Council Belmont, and we'll see what happens to our timetable.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Chair Hunt. Wayne Belmont, County Council again. And I just want to give you a brief update on last week we held our first workshop on the short-term rental proposed changes to our code. And recommendations that we presented to you previously were presented out there with an opportunity for public comment in this workshop format that we used. First time using this particular platform, I was very afraid going into about 2 minutes before the meeting that this would, what would happen with this new particular format, but we pulled it off and it actually worked very well. We had 171 registrants for that particular activity. I had noted, actually I went back onto the county's YouTube page and there's been 350 views of the workshop materials. It went for almost 3.5 hours, and most of that was actually us listening to the public make comments about the STR program in the county and the specific recommendations that we're doing. So we're processing and reviewing that public input, which includes, not just what we received at the workshop, but that which we received through other mechanisms, through our smart sheet and through our email at the board, and we continue to get that input. And we are welcoming additional input on this particular issue. So we're working now, staff is working to refine recommendations to present to the board, and we'll be doing that upcoming. We know that we've got some areas that we need to do more work in. One of the areas that a lot of folks commented on was around the enforcement mechanisms that are currently in the code and drawbacks. And really this came from people who, might be on both sides of the particular equation in terms of where they may want to see more regulation or less regulation of STRs. But I think we've recognized that that's an area we need to do more work. So the sheriff and his staff, I know, have been talking about some additional options and alternatives, and we're going to be meeting during the course of the next few weeks to really refine our recommendations to you in that particular area, but not just that area. When we come back to you next, we're going to have some specific code language and concepts, as well as options and alternatives for you to consider and advise us on where you want to go. And based on your recommendations from that, we will hold additional public engagement opportunities, additional workshops to look at that specific language and get public input on that language. So that's the report on that particular process. I want to thank Casey Miller especially, because this was a major job to take this much public input and do this in basically 3.5 hours. And Casey did a really good job to keep us all on task, but give everybody an opportunity to provide us with that necessary input. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. And then I'd like to move on to a second item.
Questions, Commissioner Hall? Questions, comments?
No, I'll just kudos to Mr. Belmont and to PIO Miller. I've watched the entire video, and I think they did a very good job organizationally, technically, in accomplishing exactly what we set out to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson?
You're muted, Commissioner Jacobson.
Sorry about that. I am nibbling through the recording in series. Haven't quite caught up to where Commissioner Hall is watching all of it, but I'm nibbling away at it. I do want to commend staff on doing that. It's a huge undertaking. And I also just want to say that, we've kind of had some mixed comments come in about that it was very helpful or it wasn't very helpful. But regardless, it is part of our process, whether it was helpful to certain people or not, that is part of our process. The other thing I just want to iterate, I don't think it can be said enough, is that we only have control of short-term rentals in the unincorporated parts of the county. I say this a lot. We've gotten a lot of public testimony with people that start off that say, I have a rental in High Beach, or I have a rental inside Lincoln City, or whatever. And these rules would not apply to those properties. You have to be in the unincorporated parts. But I also think there's a lot of confusion on possible ballot measures started by citizens. So I think our process and that process have kind of gotten confusing. And I just think anything we can do to continually remind people that those are two different things, and that for the process we're going through, we were just talking about the rentals in the unincorporated parts of the county.
Mr. Chair, could I jump in? I think Commissioner Jacobson makes a very good point there, not only in some of the testimony last Wednesday night, but in dozens of emails coming to us. I think people have done exactly that, confused our process with the initiative process by the 50 Neighborhoods Group, which has, we have no connection to, no involvement, a whole lot of messages coming into the effect of commissioners, you can't ban short-term rentals in the county. What are you going to do to replace all the lost revenue if you do? Again, an outright ban, even for the unincorporated areas, is not something that we have on the table at this time.
And I would just add that I think the meeting was a vast improvement as far as technology, but we continue to work and refine that process too for future meetings and public input. So with that, Council Belmont, your second report.
Thank you, commissioners. The second report has to do with, I know that you have heard, and I think it was actually reported in the media this week, that we've had some increased landslide activity at the area commonly known as Jump Off Joe in Lincoln County. So I want to read a statement that we're going to issue to let you know what we're very aware of the situation and been monitoring. Actually, we're monitoring it, have been continually monitoring that particular site. So the landslide activity in the area known as Jump Off Joe in Newport has recently increased. The affected area is owned by the city of Newport and Lincoln County and borders beaches under the jurisdiction of Oregon State Parks. The county has installed additional warning signs, and the city of Newport has cordoned off the area with signage prohibiting public entry. In addition, Oregon State Parks has placed signage on the beach at the north end of the site. Representatives from the county, city, and state parks will be meeting this week to discuss additional actions and next steps. And this is, we just want to make sure people understand this is a potentially dangerous situation, and the public is very strongly urged to avoid this particular area. It is an active landslide. So we'll keep you posted on what additional steps might be recommended. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have on that particular issue.
Chair Hunt, just for Mr. Belmont, will you be sending that statement to us, posting it on the website and getting it out to our media list very soon?
All of the above.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I had contact from 3 or 4 people over the weekend, you know, wanting to know, A, was I aware of it? B, what was the county going to do about it? And I explained that, you know, well, certainly we do have partial ownership interest in the property, exactly as you've stated. You know, the city and the state really have to be at the table as well. We've all got a stake in dealing with this. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson, any thoughts or comments?
No further comments.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to public comment. And I know, Casey, you've been going back and forth. I would make 2 points. Number one, the public input that we're getting relative to, well, I'll change my thought process. With what's being shown on the screen now, public input that is not related to the short-term rentals process is shown here. And then under the other tab for short-term rentals, the public input is being compiled daily, and you can see public input from the 18th, the 19th, the 20th. There's the chat script from the workshop on the 21st, and there's public input on the 22nd and the 25th. So lots of public input, and that's where it is for the people that would like to find it and read it. Any other comments or thoughts from Board of Commissioners?
Not from here.
Hearing none. It is 4:09 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.